The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
Checking in for a live look at Bitcoin, the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is right now trading at 39,000 and change. Bitcoin is slightly down about 3% over the past 24 hours, and the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index right now at 2441. ETH is down at over 6% over the past 24 hours. And joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Darius, CEO of QCP Capital. Welcome to the show, Darius. So we have the Fed meeting coming up. Good morning. So we have the Fed meeting coming up this afternoon. What are you watching out for? And is that the reason why we're seeing such thin volumes today?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the main reason. I mean, since last month's high CPI print, that sort of triggered the move down in Bitcoin. I think it's been the crypto markets have been the most sensitive to this expectation of a possible hawkishness from the Fed. So I think today is very, very important. I mean, like Lauren said earlier, I don't think anyone expects the Fed to raise rates anytime soon, but any kind of indication or language and showing concern over the inflation print, I think would rattle markets a little bit. So everyone's in a wait and see mode. And in the options market, you have a lot of people who are long options, which is sort of pinning the Bitcoin price around 40K. So the market's waiting and seeing. I think it's showing less fear than it showed last week. So it's in a more neutral position at the moment.
So hi Darius. The fact, what happens if Powell doesn't say anything interesting today? What if it just sort of same old, doesn't give a hint on tapering, doesn't give a hint on raising rates in 2023? What if he just says, all right, everything is wait and see still? Does the market just keep flatlining around the 40,000? Does it just give up and sell off?
I actually think if it doesn't say anything, it's constructive. I think today's price has been in a bit of a binary situation, right? If they give any indication of hawkishness, the market gets rattled again, we might test the lows. If he says nothing, I think that's constructive, right? I think, the last couple of weeks, we've seen some good news, US corporates continuing to buy. We have sovereigns that have come in to put their treasuries in Bitcoin. I mean, it might be small sovereign countries, but, I think that was quite a watershed event. So we're pretty constructive. I think,
Which sovereign countries are you talking about?
No news is good news in this case. Sorry? I'm talking about the El Salvador news, of course. Them declaring it legal tender. I think that's very significant. So yeah, to answer your question, if Powell says nothing, I think Bitcoin goes higher.
But the El Salvador news didn't really move the market in any significant way. I mean, considering how big a deal that news was.
The day it came out, I think we were afraid that Bitcoin was going to break 30K, right? There was negative news from China. The miners out of Xinjiang were getting kicked out. I think it was a nasty day. So I think the El Salvador news put a flaw in the market. So it might not have been immediately reactive, but I think it put a nice flaw in the market. So it was a constructive piece of news for me.
What do we know about how the market's positioned in the options market right now? I mean, it seems, are we looking? What's their target so far in the upcoming months?
Vols remain very high. So if you compare Bitcoin and Ether vols to like VIX is at all-time lows, right? It's actually surprisingly low, I guess, given we are at the cusp of potentially major news from out of the FOMC. But Bitcoin vols remain very high. So I think the market is positioning for a move higher. The reason I say that is just last week, we were at all-time highs in the put skews, meaning that everyone was very long puts. But now that has ameliorated and become more neutral. And the market is very long vol. So the crypto market is expecting a nice big move. And until any headlines that trigger the move, the market is going to be sort of pinned at this level because everyone is sort of long balls and trading spot around those options.
So just to quickly change the subject here, I noticed that Coinbase Pro listed Sheepcoin, which kind of surprised me because it took them so long to list Dogecoin. I'm just curious what you think about this. Like, is this a good thing?
Well, I guess I don't really have any opinion on Sheepcoin per se, but it's been an interesting one to look at. Yeah, I mean, having liquidity in any coin is always good. So no real strong opinion on that.
About the South Korea exchanges, there's a bit of more restrictions being laid out on that. How is that impacting the market in Asia?
The trading in Korea remains very, very active. I mean, of course, it's gone down a bit because of a lot of these restrictions. But at the same time, it's also caused the spread to widen a bit more, meaning that Korea versus the rest of the world. The Korean ARB trade died for a good 2-3 years. But with all these regulations coming up, it's actually created more activity, ironically, because you have a price differential between the Korean exchanges and the rest of the world. So good and bad, I guess. I think regulations, of course, is good, but I guess for Korea, the question is whether it gets too much. But as it stands, I think there's very healthy trading activity in Korea. And for us traders, whenever there's a price differential and you have these inefficiencies, it's always good to trade.